Tests for spiritual masters. Because literature is available today, which was hard to get in earlier times, it is easy to learn certain occult and spiritual things, and then fake people into thinking you're special, and start some cult. The following tests will weed out most of the fakes, but there is still number 100% guarantee. These are automatic disqualifications.
1.
Asking for money or other compensation to perform a spiritual initiation.
2.
Asking for money or other compensation for any reason. 3. Suggesting, implying, or giving orders that followers should try to change the world, take over the government, or uplift mankind. These sometimes noble goals are the duties and responsibilities of the negative hierarchy, and to allude to them means the person is not a high spiritual master of the positive hierarchy, which is the only one that can help you get legitimate spiritual enlightenment. Advanced tests. 1. If the master passes the test of not asking for money but appears to have lots of money and resources, consider that he might be financed by some spiritually questionable source. This source could be the intelligence agency of some government which uses the movement as a cover for some of its activities. Check for possible links to high-profit international operations such as drug smuggling or arms trading. Because most spiritual seekers are naive and trusting, and because they really believe in their leader, even though he may be a total phony, they make an excellent cover for establishing a worldwide network.
2.
Try to find people who were once associated with the movement you are checking, but have now left the movement. Their insights and reasons for leaving may be useful.
3.
If you can, run a series of psychic tests to determine if the promises of the master are really being fulfilled. For example, in an esoteric chain, deceased masters should not reincarnate. If a psychic can find them reincarnated somewhere, then something is clearly wrong. Also, deceased students of a master should not be easy to locate because they are supposed to be on higher planes. If a psychic can find them somewhere in the astral world, then the master's abilities should be seriously questioned. Thought forms. One of the psychic abilities people have is the ability to create what is commonly called thought forms. A thought form is a subtle energy matrix, which has a definite form but no consciousness or soul, which one can generate by thought to look like anything you please. You could make a thought form dog, or a thought form horse, or a thought form image of some real or imaginary person. You can see the thought form inside, and so can other sensitive people. In witchcraft, techniques are given to deliberately create thought forms and then send them out on missions for the purpose of influencing or controlling others, e.g., as one witchcraft text states, appear in someone's dreams and thereby convince them to do whatever you wish. There is no legitimate spiritual use for thought forms. They are a creation of the lower realities and cannot exist in the spiritual zones of Region 2 or Region 1, which are beyond thought. If you are somehow linked or attached to a thought form, then you cannot enter these regions either. You will be limited to the thought form's natural home, which is the third, causal, plane in Region 3. When witches and sorcerers create thought forms, they know what they are doing. They also know techniques to dissolve the thought form when they are finished with it. However, unsuspecting people who may never have heard the phrase thought form can be tricked into generating them and taking them for something other than what they really are. This trick allows many phony masters to convince people they are for real by inciting them to concentrate upon them so intensely that they actually create a thought form in the image of the phony master. Since they can see the thought form, they conclude that the master is watching over them. One phony group invented an imaginary history complete with totally fabricated ancient masters to convince members that they had existed for a long time. Artists painted pictures of the imaginary past masters. Some members then began to see these non-existent persons and claimed that they were present at meetings and were protecting them, etc. Another trick of the mind used to dupe the unaware. When people work in groups and share experiences on other planes of existence, such as witches, remote viewers, etc., they see each other inside. However, this is a real event and can be externally verified. In an awake/alert state, the people involved can compare notes and remember events they had in the altered states of consciousness. However, experiences with thought forms of masters are totally internal to the experiencer. The master has no knowledge whatsoever of any details of this. If you are working with a master, then it is important to make sure that any internal experience can be externally verified. If you are unable to confirm this because your questions get ignored or answered by double talk or evasive statements, it is time to seriously consider that your master might be a fake. If you are linked to a thought form at the time of death, you will not be able to rise above the plane where thought forms generate, which is the causal plane. It is not possible to enter the legitimately spiritual regions attached to a thought form. It is not possible for a thought form to guide you to any legitimately spiritual region.